Through a twist of fate, the less attractive sister ends up marrying her perfect sibling's fiancé, and in the process, she starts to realize she might not be as hideous as everyone made her believe. The story kicks off with a ridiculously massive castle, the kind that screams budget who, Zrinya, while wedding bells ring in the background. A redhead in a bridal gown is seen climbing the stairs, where a tall, dark-haired, green-eyed hunk is waiting at the top. And yep, that was the day Marie married her sister's fiancé. You heard that right? It's less like a fairy tale and more like an episode of Mori. I'll make sense of this whole mess. Let's lay out the full tea. Baron Sheeran had 2 daughters. The eldest, Anastasia, was basically the walking stereotype of perfection. Charming, beautiful, effortlessly social, and of course, blonde. The younger one, Marie, was the exact opposite. And just so we're clear on the narrative tone here, Marie was considered a total disaster. Too tall, constantly messy-haired, obsessed with books. Basically the stuff of Victorian nightmares. The Sheeran family was completely broke, though they kept up appearances like they still had money. But the one who really paid the price was Marie, who got stuck doing all the housework just because she didn't fit their idea of pretty. She cooked for everyone but was only allowed to eat the leftovers. On top of that, she managed the family finances and even did her dad's job. And don't get her started on bath time. The poor girl had to wash herself in the well out back because clearly no one wanted to share a shower with that creature. And if this is starting to sound like a ripoff of Cinderella, well, it's not. Cinderella was blonde, Marie's a redhead. So legally we're good, right? Right. It's Marie's birthday, and to everyone's surprise, the household throws a massive party. Marie is thrilled. She even puts on her nicest dress, you know, the one with the least bleach stains. But her joy doesn't last. She soon realizes the celebration isn't for her at all. Nope, it's just her dad's latest scheme to find a rich husband for Anastasia. Crushed, Marie runs off to cry by the fountain, questioning every life choice and wondering how she ended up being the unfortunate-looking sister. That's when the resident heartthrob shows up. Tall, dark, handsome, asking where the party is. Marie, dead inside, lazily gestures toward the mansion. He thanks her and without missing a beat, calls her maid. Yep, just like that. Was it necessary? Number? But the plot needs drama, so here we are. Before things get more awkward, the heartthrob's actual maid steps in and clarifies that Marie is not staff. She's the Baron's daughter. The guy immediately apologizes, and just like that, Marie is smitten. She instantly recognizes his clothing as traditional garb from the Republic of Ipsandros. He's genuinely surprised that someone so unconventionally charming knows about his homeland. Marie, now fully embracing her main character energy, tells him she loves reading and is obsessed with Ipsandrian culture and tech. That's all it takes. He's officially hooked on her inner beauty. Because let's be honest, the outside still needs some PR help. And just to add the cherry on this weird flirty Sunday, he tells her that even his underwear is made of silk, you know, just in case she's curious. What a gentleman, huh? Mori pretends that incredibly odd comment didn't happen, and instead gushes about her favorite story from his country, a folk tale called The Scrappy Red Cat. Why bring it up? Because the story needs a deep metaphor to justify the plot direction. The guy says he knows it, but Marie tells it anyway. Of course she does. The story she tells is about a scruffy little red street cat, totally not a metaphor for herself, wink wink, who may not be the prettiest feline around, but he grows, learns, and ends up going on a wild journey alongside a traveler. It's your classic underdog or undercat tale. As Marie finishes the story, she remembers how her dad used to say that smart girls are unsettling. Apparently, crashing her confidence wasn't enough. He had to throw in a few mental curveballs too, so she goes quiet, politely apologizes to the Duke, and turns to leave in full dramatic fashion. But the Duke tells her to stop. She turns around, takes a proper look at him, and yeah, he's absolutely stunning. Too bad he's supposed to marry her sister. Cue the emotional waterworks. Thinking she's still upset about the maid mix-up, he apologizes again and tries to lighten the mood by saying her outfit could be misleading. It looks like something rescued from a thrift store clearance bin. Marie, fully embracing her self-deprecating era, replies that it's not the clothes. It's her. She says she looks like a glitch in the genetic matrix. Then she tries to bolt again, but the Duke gently grabs her by the waist, looks her right in the eyes, and drops a bomb. You're beautiful. Mary pushes him away like he just said the sky was green, tells him to enjoy his fairy tale wedding with Anastasia, and runs off into what we'll call her emotional swamp. A month later, a letter arrives. The Duke is formally requesting Anastasia's hand in marriage. Baron Sheeran reacts like he just hit the jackpot. This is it. Our ticket out of budget noodles. Get ready, sweetheart. You're about to rescue this family from financial rock bottom. Marie, heart doing cartwheels in the worst way, is the one who responds to the letter with a polite yes and starts planning the wedding. That's right, her sister's wedding with the guy she liked. Big round of applause for fate. Truly top tier comedy. And so the wedding prep begins. To be honest, Anastasia isn't exactly thrilled about marrying a complete stranger. What if he's one of those team always hot people? She wonders. You know, the kind who insists on cranking up the AC and still shows up to bed like they just ran a marathon. Yikes. Still, trying to be a good sport, Anastasia gives Marie a gift. A suit. Yep, a man's suit. But hey, since Marie is tall, slim, and supposedly lacking in charm, she figured it would fit her just fine. And the truth is, Marie did love her sister, or rather, she used to, past tense, because, well, she's no longer around. Let's just say the royal carriage ride to the wedding didn't go as planned. No need for gory details. Think of it like a fairy tale that took a sudden turn into a soap opera special. And yes, there was even a dramatic slap scene. Marie's mother, overwhelmed by the loss of her favorite daughter, decided to take it out on the one still standing. But surprise twist, the Baron steps in and warns her to chill out, saying she might leave marks. She shrugs and says it doesn't matter, and Marie's already visually challenging, so who would notice? But don't be fooled. This wasn't some heroic dad moment. Nope, the Baron had other ideas. Turns out the engagement gifts already sold, the money long gone, no way to return anything now. So the family comes up with a brilliantly awful idea. Since the Duke is now grieving, maybe they could send Marie over to keep him company for an evening. You know, as a thoughtful gesture of emotional support, and to clear the family's tab. How generous of them. Marie doesn't quite get why she has to pay for something and figures it's just because she was born as a factory reject. Tall, red-haired, and not exactly cover model material. So off they go, headed to the Duke's castle, but surprise, they aren't even allowed near the gates. The Baron starts losing his temper and demands they be let through, claiming he sent a letter to notify them. The Duke's maid appears, calm as if she's seen it all, and tells him that if the letter arrived that very morning, it doesn't count as giving proper notice. The Baron, thinking he's the king of the jungle, tries to throw a few punches at the maid, but this isn't his backyard, and she swiftly knocks him down without breaking a sweat. Marie, going full drama queen, flops to the ground too and apologizes for her father. In that theatrical moment, her veil slips off, revealing her Frankenstein face, and the maid instantly recognizes her. Then the maid rushes off to inform her master about the unexpected visitor. The maid introduces herself as Mio and personally escorts Marie to the Duke. Upon seeing her, the Duke doesn't look pleased. He wasn't thrilled about having the sister of his recently departed fiancé brought to him and orders her to be removed. But just then, Mio re-enters with Marie and the Duke finally pieces it all together. And the story takes an unexpected twist. Marie finally introduces herself to Duke Kyros Granado, and that's when it hits her. He's the handsome chap she met on her birthday. Just when she thought her life couldn't get any more dramatic, the Baron decides to speak up like it's a brilliant plan and says that after the little mishap with the carriage, he figured the sensible thing was to bring his other daughter. Though he adds, without much tact, that yes, she's not exactly a beauty, but with a decent hood, no one would really notice much. That comment didn't amuse the Duke one bit. His face turned so serious you could almost feel the room freeze. To ease the tension, he politely apologizes to Marie, invites her to rest at the castle, and exits with grace, though with a vein practically popping on his forehead. Mio the maid escorts Marie to her room. Meanwhile, the Baron and Duke stick around to bicker about the matter of the gifts and the awkward situation overall. In the room, Mio serves Marie some tea, which she immediately recognizes as a traditional brew from the Republic of Epsandros. She can't resist dropping that cultural tidbit. Mio watches her and thinks that despite all the oddness, Marie is quite endearing. Just then, Duke Kyros walks in. Marie, nervous, apologizes for all the drama and inconvenience. He explains that he told his father there was no need to return the gifts or pay anything, then dashed off before he could change his mind. Marie figures she just has to grin and bear it like a good martyr, but he stops her suddenly and asks if her family treats her badly. Innocently, she replies no, they only give her a hard time because they care. Kyros asks her to drop the formalities and just call him by his name. Then he gets straight to the point. Why was she wearing those dreadful rags to the party? He suspects someone dressed her that way on purpose to make her look like a scarecrow and not steal the spotlight from his sister. Marie just freezes like a blue screen. She's so brainwashed, she's not sure if her life is a tragedy or a family sitcom. She tells him it's not that they treat her badly, it's just that she's plain ugly. Ugly like a maths problem done backwards, like the 7 times table in reverse. Kyros listens and then orders Mio to take her away. Marie is ready to be dragged out of the castle like a sack of potatoes. But no, they're not kicking her out, just sending her for a bath. But it's not the usual well or even a simple shower. No, she's sent to a fancy sauna in the courtyard like a noble spa. Marie sees this dream bath and assumes she's been sent there to clean it as punishment for existing. But just as she reaches for a sponge, another girl appears, introducing herself as Tunika, the bath attendant. Sort of like the posh lady who looks after public loose, handing out paper and charging you candy, but in a deluxe version. Mio explains that she's no ordinary maid, but an expert in aesthetics. Basically, the mission is to give Marie a makeover, to go from walking disaster to presentable at last. Marie, with her servant mindset set still on, thinks she's there to clean the bath, but they patiently explain she's not cleaning the bath, they're cleaning her. She's placed in a tub fit for a spa commercial, and Tunika starts washing her hair like it's a VIP treatment. Surrounded by lovely scents, steam, and pampering, Marie relaxes so much she dozes off. The next scene is a full-on TikTok glow-up. Marie emerges in the hall, hair done, makeup on, dressed in fine clothes, looking brand new and soup stain free. Kuro sees her and thinks two very deep things. Glad he sent her for that bath. Tunika deserves a bonus, a medal, or at least a day off. Marie barely recognizes herself in the mirror. She's not sure if it's her or some deluxe cosplay version of herself. Kuros calls in Liu Liu, an elegant dark-haired woman like him, who strides in with sharp eyes. She gives Marie a once-over from head to toe, drops a well then, and admits she's looking quite the catch. Surprise, Liu Liu turns out to be none other than the Duke's mother, and like any bossy mom, she has to approve the engagement. After giving Marie the X-ray treatment with her eyes, Liu Liu delivers her verdict. Marie isn't ready. She says she lacks attitude, confidence, and that certain je ne sais quoi. If she's going to be the wife of a duke, she needs to be top-notch, proud, fierce, and with a "don't mess with me" glare. So she decides to personally train her to level up. Think of it as a Duchess bootcamp. Mio congratulates Marie all cheerful, but Marie is more lost than a GPS without signal. She asks what on earth is going on, and Mio, like it's the most normal thing in the world, says, "Oh, you're getting married to Kuros." And while everyone is already in full wedding mode, planning cakes and dresses, Marie is still in shock. She tells them no way, she's not marrying anyone, thank you very much. But of course, as we know from the start, that's about to change, and in a big way. The Duke is still trying to process the fact that he got totally rejected. But don't worry, Mio's there to make sure he doesn't forget. Not only that, she reminds him he proposed to the wrong sister. The Duke swears it wasn't his fault. He genuinely thought the girl slumped in the shadows, looking like she'd been hit by a laundry tornado, was the guest of honor. And so let's rewind a bit and see how this whole delightful mess came to be. Turns out Kuros is the son of a Duke who had two wives. The official one, blonde, sharp-tongued, and very into rules. And then there's his real mom, a wandering artist named Liu Liu from Epsandros. One day, while little Kuros was running around the garden, he tripped and face-planted. Laura, the official wife, came over to help and offered him a sweet roll to stop the waterworks. Kuros wolfed it down like it was the last pastry on earth, and Laura was actually impressed. He looked up, cheeks full, and said something like, "Okay, what did you put in this? This is amazing." Laura chuckled, started warming up to the kid, and asked what else he liked. Kuros said, "Anything that makes the scale cry," and Laura admitted she also had a sweet tooth. Said baking helped her stop thinking about unpleasant things. A little awkward, but hey, to each their coping mechanism. She promised next time she'd make him chocolate chip cookies. It could have been the start of a wholesome Hallmark moment, but nope. The Duke later tells Lulu that since Laura hasn't had any kids, he's decided to make Kuros his official heir. Big news, right? Meanwhile, Laura is watching them from, was it a closet? A curtain? Anyway, somewhere dramatic. Let's just say she did not take it well. In fact, she got so upset she stress ate a chocolate cookie and washed it down with a suspicious beverage that definitely didn't come from the fridge. Liu Liu technically got promoted to official wife, but she wasn't having it. She packed her bags, grabbed her kid, and dipped. To keep from getting kicked out of the country, Kuros hustled his way up the social ladder and somehow made himself a count. But even with a fancy title, he never warmed up to high society parties. He avoided them like cold fries until one day his buddy Rufon invited him to one. Yeah, Rufon. Sounds like his parents picked his name by closing their eyes and hitting random Scrabble tiles. Anyway, Rufon asks if he got the invite to Baron Shidoran's party. Apparently the Baron sent one to every rich bachelor in the kingdom, like he's swiping right on every eligible wallet in town, hoping someone takes the bait. Word on the street is they're flat broke, so this whole party is basically a clearance sale for his daughter. Kuros isn't impressed. He finds the whole thing a little gross. Ruifon though says the daughter's supposed to be really something. Not that he'd know, he's already engaged, but he tells Kuros to check out the merchandise. That's when some girls show up offering cookies, and Kuros suddenly flashes back to his old stepmom. Yeah, weird moment. The girls get spooked and back away. Rufon jokes that Kuros is popular with the ladies, but Kuros just shrugs it off. He says they're only into him because of his title. Nobody's actually going to love him for him. Case in point, everyone in that room looks down on the Epsandros. They treat them like they just crawled out of the forest. Rufon gives him the old well tough luck and reminds him that, like it or not, he has to get married. No wife means no dukedom. That's when a little light bulb goes off in Kuros' head. Maybe what he needs is someone simple, someone low maintenance, no drama, like the daughter of a bankrupt baron. But then he shows up to the party and sees Marie. And right then in his head, he hears that cheesy romantic tune they always play in sitcoms when the main couple locks eyes. Boom, Cupid strikes. At that point, he's all in. No turning back. He runs up to Baron Shidoran and asks where his daughter is. The Baron points across the room and proudly says, "Of course, marry my daughter." Kyros knew the Baron had 2 daughters, Anastasia the eldest and Marie the youngest. And since the whole party was clearly for Marie, balloons, cake, everything, and everyone was crowding around the cheerful blonde, Kyros assumed the stunning redhead he bumped into outside had to be Anastasia. He looked everywhere for her. Well, everywhere except the trash can, so it didn't surprise him. He didn't find her. So he went home, got his inner drama out, and wrote the Baron a heartfelt letter. He wanted to marry Anastasia, the eldest, not the one with the personality of a soggy cookie. The Baron agreed, and Kyros immediately went into world's greatest fiancé mode. He bought new clothes, new shoes, and upgraded the castle staff so his future wife wouldn't have to lift a finger. He even got one of those fancy pillows with the picture of his dream girl on it. Yes, the kind anime fans buy when they're in love. He was that in love. Then one day, boom! He gets a letter saying Anastasia had a tragic change of plans on the way to the wedding. That's what they told him at first. Then they also casually mentioned that wedding gifts weren't, refundable. Oops. And just when the situation couldn't get any more confusing, the Baron shows up with the same redhead Kyros had fallen for. That's when it hit him like a comical twist. He'd been madly in love with Marie this whole time. Total confusion. But here's the kicker. Marie is alive in his house, and she's already kicked him out. Mio says, "Well, what did you expect?" She shows up all queenly and you don't even say hi. Then she leaves, comes back, and you yell at her to kick her out, and you're surprised she rejected you. Man, come on. Kyros, clinging to the classic hope of the confused protagonist, asks Mio if she thinks Marie will accept if he explains the whole mess. Mio shrugs and says, "Who knows? But hey, it's worth a try." So that's it. They pluck up their courage and go see Marie. She's in a room standing in front of the mirror like it's the final scene of a Disney movie, saying, "Who's that gorgeous girl in the reflection?" "Oh, right, me." And just at that moment, Kyros and Mio walk in. Marie apologizes for keeping quiet earlier and says she was caught off guard with the whole proposal. Kyros tells her he's the one who should be apologizing, and the moment he looks at her again, boom, that old crush hits him like a truck. Thankfully, this time he brought Mio along to snap him out of it, with a good old stomp on the foot. He tries to explain the whole mess. "Look, there's been a misunderstanding," he says. "I don't hate you, I just thought you came to the castle on purpose. But the truth is, I really do want to marry you." Marie goes, well duh. I only said no to stretch the story out, otherwise we wouldn't have had a full episode today." Then she adds that yeah, she knows the whole situation. He has to marry the daughter of a noble if he wants to inherit the title of Duke. Kyros admits, yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. Marie teases him. "So that's why you showed up to some mid-tier party thrown by a mid-tier baron, looking to marry one of his daughters, specifically my sister Anastasia." And then she hits him with this. "But hey, after that little incident, you know the one, I guess now I'm your backup plan. So sure, I'll go along with whatever needs to happen." Kyros tells her, "Okay, yes, technically I did go looking for a political match, but then I met you and everything changed." He says the letter he wrote to the Baron came straight from the heart. Marie believes him. Kind of. She's just not sure if those feelings were really meant for her or for Anastasia. Kyros starts trying to explain, but Mio cuts in like a true hero and says, "Can we please continue this drama after dinner? I'm starving." So they sit down to eat, and Kyros takes one more shot at clearing things up. He says, "Look, this was never about convenience. The only reason I proposed to Anastasia in the first place was because I thought she was the super cute redhead I found just lying around outside." Marie goes, yeah, sure, that'll be the story we tell. Sounds super sweet and all, but don't worry about me, alright? She may be well read, but let's just say she's a little too trusting." Ironically, she's not buying a single word of it. She's convinced this whole thing's just a formality. That after the wedding, he's gonna go off collecting new ladies while she's stuck scrubbing floors again. Only this time, in a castle with better kitchen appliances. Then Kyros drops the big one. Just straight up tells her he loves her. Did not see that coming. You could tell it shook her up a bit. Planted a little seed of doubt in her very neat theory. Anyway, the deal's already sealed. They're engaged. Weddings in 3 months. Enough time to plan the party, pick out a dress, and emotionally spiral, you know, the usual. Kyros tells her to enjoy her stay at the castle, but Marie's like, "Actually, I need to go home first." Apparently, her dad didn't think this would go anywhere serious. He kinda sent her just to, test the waters. See if they could build some kind of alliance or connection. Now she's gotta go back and ask what the next move is. Kyros and Mio are like, "Wait, what now?" Kyros pulls Mio aside for a quick huddle, and a few seconds later, Mio returns like, "Yeah, that's a no from us. She's not going anywhere. If her folks want to visit, they'll need a permission slip from the Duke and a GPS tracker." Then Mio hits her with the big question. "Why are you so convinced you're unattractive?" Marie explains that growing up her parents used to make her stare in the mirror while pointing out all her so-called flaws. That plus years of fashion magazines setting beauty standards that even the models don't meet. Mio's like, okay, well, out of all that stuff, the only thing in this room right now is the mirror. So how about you take a look and decide for yourself? Not that she needs much convincing, girl's been camped in front of that mirror all afternoon anyway. Marie had never slept in a bed this comfortable before. Back home, her bed was basically just a kitchen rag thrown on the floor. For the first time, she felt like she was living her own fairy tale. It all felt like a dream. A fancy castle, friendly housekeepers, and handsome princes with their quirky habits. But deep down, she was pretty sure she'd wake up any second, right back on the kitchen floor. So she decided to enjoy the dream while it lasted. She remembered how the prince had told her he loved her, and wow, her head was spinning. This dream was pretty sweet, she thought, and she planned to stay in it as long as possible. The next morning, she woke up with a vivid memory of that wild dream where a duke adopted her and completely changed her life. Her first instinct was to jump up, clean the house, wake everyone, and get breakfast and lunches ready. But then she opened her eyes, saw the fancy room she was in, thought she wasn't really awake yet, and decided to go back to chill mode. Just as she settled back into bed, Mio knocked on the door, and that's when it hit her. This wasn't a dream, it was real. Out of habit, she flopped down on the floor like a servant. But Mio just gave her a look like, "What are you doing?" and said, "We don't do that here." Still a bit confused, Marie asked who the other two girls with Mio were. Mio explained that now that her engagement to the Duke was official, these three would be her personal assistants. Their names were Hannah and Ilza. Hannah and Itza introduced themselves like they're the medieval version of customer support, if customer support came with tiaras and perfect posture. Mio tells Marie that if she's ever too busy doing, important noble stuff, these two can take care of her needs. Marie's not exactly thrilled. Having someone wait on you is already weird, but having two personal assistants, that's early 2000s reality TV star levels of luxury. But hey, noble's gonna noble. Marie asks if they're from the capital, and they hit her with a yup, proudly mentioning they come from a big shot family of knights and landed this gig thanks to a glowing recommendation from the third prince himself. Basically, royal LinkedIn endorsements. Oh, and they used to work at the palace. No big deal. Marie's impressed. Who wouldn't be? Until both girls suddenly start giving her that look. You know, the one that says, "You smell like budget shampoo." It's the same judgy vibe she used to get from her parents. Mio, sensing the awkwardness level rising fast, swoops in to save the day and whisks her off to breakfast. And what a breakfast! Ham, sausages, pheasant terrine, duck pate, venison, you name it. Marie stares at the spread and goes, "All this for me? What is this, Noah's Ark, the brunch edition?" She's not sure she can finish it all. Mio, straight-faced, tells her if she can't handle it, just leave it. Very practical, very Iron Chef. But Marie's got that waste not, want not attitude, like a grandma who cries over uneaten mashed potatoes. So she suggests splitting it. Mio shuts that down real quick. Eating together is apparently another fancy pants privilege she hasn't unlocked yet. So Marie digs in solo and yep, it's amazing. She eats until her stomach can't anymore. Mio clears the table and Marie feels guilty. Half the farm went into that breakfast and she barely made a dent. It was tragic, delicious but tragic. Next stop, the dressing room. And not just any dressing room, a full-blown wardrobe wonderland. Racks and racks of dresses in every color and cut imaginable. Marie takes one look and goes, I've only got one body. What am I supposed to do with all this? Mio explains that it's to avoid repeating outfits. Gotta stay fresh. Think fashion influencer minus the Instagram. They're constantly preparing for each season like it's a royal version of New York Fashion Week. Marie tries to pick something, but with that many choices, she's already overwhelmed. Mio steps in and picks out the yellow one. Crisis averted. Then it's time for a history lesson because this isn't just a fashion show. Mio tells her the castle they're in, Granado Castle, was originally built as a war fortress. Back in the day, it was the frontline defense of the kingdom, courtesy of a guy named Margrave Granado. The name rings a bell for Marie. Mio confirms, yep, that Granado. After the war, his family was upgraded to duke status and now they each run their territories like oversized ranches. But they don't really do politics anymore. They're nobles who clocked out of the drama and went full retired with vibes. So about the castle Marie supposedly lives in? Well, not really. Turns out it's only used for special occasions like royal weddings or the kind of parties where even the cake needs a security detail. So yeah, she can actually live there. The silver lining, she's being relocated to a mansion. And not just any mansion, this thing has a production budget so high, it got the full 3D animation treatment. Honestly, if the house had an Instagram account, it'd be verified and already doing brand deals. Naturally, the place has everything: luxury, elegance, and probably a whole room just for folding hand towels. As Marie tours the place like someone on a real estate reality show, she bumps into a guy who looks oddly familiar. Plot twist, it's Thomas. And if you're sitting there wondering, who the heck is Thomas? Don't worry, you're not alone. Even the writers barely remember him, but Marie does. He's the guard who blocked her dad at the gate on day 1. She politely apologizes for her dad acting like he owns the place, and he introduces himself. Dibomov Thomas Tender, but his friends call him Tom because with a name like that, you need a nickname that doesn't sound like a Bond villain. Marie, being a bookworm who doesn't just read fantasy romances with dragons on the cover, recognizes the name Dibomov. Apparently, he was a hero who once helped colonize Luhav, kind of like a historical figure people still like, unlike certain conquistadors who won't be getting a national holiday anytime soon. Tom gets a little too excited sharing his hometown pride and gets real chummy real fast. Luckily, Mio shows up like the no-nonsense babysitter she is and reminds him this is a palace, not a cookout. Later, Mio shows Marie to her room. Marie, in full diplomat fanfiction mode, asks if Kuros is off traveling the world, making deals with big international powers. Mio's like, yeah, no, he does travel, but it's mostly to do business with the Republic of Epsandros. So more local taco truck than global franchise. Marie's confused, understandably, because the house is filled with art and crafts from every corner of the globe. Like museum tour meets airport gift shop. Mio explains that most of the items belong to the staff. Apparently, just like Tom, the place is staffed with a mini United Nations. Why? Because Kuros is what we'd call selectively woke. In a country where prejudice is practically a hobby, he decided to set an example, hiring based on talent, not skin color, background, or whether someone's passport is laminated or drawn in crayon. Well, shame. Except for Mio. Her parents dipped early on, and she grew up without any noble background, which according to the mysterious HR policies of this household, makes her perfect servant material. Because nothing says we value equality like hiring diverse talent, as long as nobody questions the pecking order. So yes, the house is very inclusive, just with fine print. Marie wasn't exactly doing cartwheels over her new life. They stuck her with the most boring bunch in the entire mansion. And that night, she heads downstairs for some tea, just minding her business, and casually asks for a splash of milk. Big mistake. Huge. The two ladies, who are technically her maids, look at her like she just committed a federal crime. Apparently around here, tea is sacred and must be taken pure, like a cult beverage. Marie, now fully aware that the house rules make TSA security look chill, decides to drink it black. But inside she's screaming blasphemy. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the map, Kuros is so over his business trip. He's exhausted, he's done. And yes, he might have a certain redhead waiting for him back home, but duty calls. Loudly and with lots of paperwork. A few days later, Marie's having breakfast when she takes a bite of the veggies and does a double take. They're so fresh, she's half expecting them to introduce themselves. She asks Mio which fancy organic market they shop at. And Mio's like, market? Girl, please, we've got our own farm. Turns out the estate grows everything in-house, complete with their own full-time gardener, Johan. Marie wants to check it out, but Mio's too busy, probably saving the whales or ironing shirts with a lightsaber. So she tells Marie to go with Ilse and Hannah instead. Ugh, the drama twins. Not ideal. Marie heads to the garden and finds Johan prepping some tomato plants. Apparently the tomatoes have very specific vibes and must be relocated because, well, they're basically the Mariah Careys of the vegetable world. But surprise, Marie already knows all this. She used to grow her own veggies back home to help her parents save a few bucks. And she's very aware tomatoes are basically drama queens in plant form, super sensitive and easily offended. She even asks about proper spacing so they don't feel crowded. Johan is impressed and offers to show her. She happily follows him until she hears those two vipers, Ilse and Hannah, mocking her, and poor Johan too. Marie takes a deep breath and swallows her frustration like it's milkless tea. She wants to step into the garden, but those cute little shoes the Duke gave her, not made for soil, so she holds back. That night, she's still tossing and turning with frustration and decides to get some water. On her way, she spots a light on. Naturally, she peeks in, half expecting to catch a secret midnight cult meeting or something, but nope, it's just Kuros waiting for dinner like a loyal room service customer. He sees her and waves her in, asking her to keep him company. She sits and he hits her with a smooth compliment. We haven't seen each other in 4 days. And I gotta say, castle life suits you. You look amazing. Marie, being polite, said everyone's been super nice, but Kuros just gives her a look like, you always say that. Right then, Mio walks in with a tray, and following her is a chubby blonde kid who looks like he stepped straight out of a bedtime storybook. The mansion chef is named Topo. Yep, like the Japanese snack, but with an apron and a flair for drama. He serves Kuros a bowl of chicken soup with cassava and salt. Is it simple? Absolutely. Does it smell amazing? Surprisingly, yes. Kuros, being the gentleman he is, tells him to bring a bowl for Mari too. Topo hands it over with the enthusiasm of someone who already knows their Yelp review is gonna sting. He even tosses in a dramatic, "I doubt it's to your liking," like he's auditioning for a soap opera. Marie starts wondering if she accidentally stepped on his cat or something because this guy clearly has beef. She takes a sip and it's good. Not gourmet but comforting, like rainy day food. She compliments the mansion's cooking, says it's always tasty, and that's when Topo absolutely unravels. He drops to the floor in full melodrama mode, sobbing like someone just cancelled his favorite show. He accuses her of lying just to be polite, insists she secretly hates his food because she always leaves half of it behind. According to him, he's tried everything but she's impossible to please. Maybe, he says, he was never meant to cook. Maybe his destiny was pouring cereal. Marie, now in full diplomatic panic mode, tries to clear things up. She explains it's not that the food is bad, far from it. She just feels guilty not finishing it. Portion guilt. It's real. Kuro's watching this whole emotional roller coaster like it's dinner theater. Asks Mio if she ever helped Marie figure out what she actually likes. Mio says she tried, but Marie just can't bring herself to say she dislikes anything. Not food, not clothes, nothing. Marie insists she loves it all. But unfortunately, she's only got one stomach, not a TARDIS. That finally gets through to Topo. He wipes away the tears, does a full emotional reset, and boom, back to sunshine and rainbows. Kuros tells Marie not to take the waterworks too seriously. Topo's a regular crybaby. He probably sheds tears over oatmeal. But hey, now that he's back on his feet, he's off to get dessert, a giant apple pie the size of a car tire. Kuros explains that the real issue is Topo thinks everyone eats like him, which is optimistic. That's why every meal comes in family of giants portions. Topo returns, dishes out pie slices like pizza wedges, and Kuros invites him to sit down and join them. Topo, ever the humble guest, agrees to have just a little and proceeds to demolish half the pie by himself. Classic. Once Topo waddles off, Kuros asks Marie if there's anything else on her mind. Personally, I was sure this was the moment she'd spill the tea on the two drama-filled maids, but nope. Marie says everything's great, 5 stars. Even when he asks her directly about Ilsa and Hannah, she smiles and says they're sweethearts. Kuros is like, are we talking about the same people? He tells her he tried to assign her the best, but honestly, those two couldn't fetch milk without accidentally setting something on fire. He realizes Marie just can't bring herself to be blunt, so he gently reminds her that it's okay to say when something's not working. But Marie, bless her polite little heart, says she just doesn't feel like she has the right to refuse kindness, even when it's a bit much. She apologizes and says she doesn't want to reject anyone's good intentions. Kuros, channeling his inner problem solver, tells her that if she ever needs anything, he's got her covered. Just then, Mio walks in with a teapot and Marie's bedtime snack, which is less snack and more Thanksgiving dinner for one. At this point, we're pretty sure Mio has a second stomach, or maybe a small black hole. Kuros asks Marie if she recognizes the teapots he's got stacked like some kind of fancy porcelain Jenga tower. She's like, oh nope, never seen that contraption in her life. So he explains it's a special kind of teapot from Epsandros. Basically, there's a candle underneath that heats the water, which lightly toasts the herbs. Then you pour in the hot water, let it steep, and bam, tea a la drama. It's tradition, he says, that while they wait for the tea to do its thing, they sit and talk, get to know each other. Real heart-to-heart kind of moment, so he asks her to tell him more about herself. And Marie immediately hits an existential wall, because the most exciting thing she's ever done is play word games with her sister. Hardcore stuff. Trying to pivot, she suggests playing one of those word games, but then realizes, wait, maybe asking a duke to play word tag isn't exactly high society etiquette. Kuros is totally down though. He just adds one rule, only use words about things they actually like, makes it more personal. For those who haven't played, here's the gist. One person says a word and the next has to say a new word starting with the last letter of the previous one. Easy peasy. Kuros, ever the romantic, starts with Marie. She points out that the next word has to start with an E, so he switches it up to rice pudding, which is way more on brand for him anyway. She chains it with Epsandros and its legends, which sends Kuros into a nostalgia spiral. That's what they talked about when they first met. He suggests they visit the library later to read a few of those tales. Smooth. Then he drops creamy cheesecake and she fires back with new zucchini. And that's how it goes. He keeps naming sweets, she keeps naming veggies. Honestly, it starts to sound like the world's weirdest grocery list. It's Marie's turn with an L, and since she's now caught the romantic bug, she blurts out Lord Kuros, but then instantly regrets it, gets flustered, and scrambles to replace it with lots of smooches I wish you'd give me, which is definitely not less awkward. Before Kuros can even react, Mio cuts in like a sitcom side character with perfect timing. Your tea's burnt, she says. They pour it anyway, and yep, it tastes like someone steeped regret. Kuros asks Mio to bring some milk and sugar so it's at least drinkable, and she snaps back, you two have spilled enough sugar already. Touché, Mio, touché. Hey, if you made it this far into the video, don't forget to type the word exquisite in the comments. Thanks a million and see you in the next video!